Hey, wait a minute. You can't do this without a shirt. Give him a shirt. Hey, wait a minute. Not that shirt. Cut.
Hi, this is Ryan again.
Hey, not that shirt. Cut.
Hi, this is Ryan again.
Hey, not that shirt. Cut. Cut.
Hi, this is Ryan again.
Hey, not that shirt. That's too cool. Cut.
Hi, this is Ryan again.
Hey, not that shirt. It's too corny. Cut.
Hi, this is Ryan again. In this show, we're going to be covering some good tips on how to get the most out of your electric guitar, bass, keyboard, and how to put your own band together. We'll start off with Gabe and some tips he has on lead guitar.
Hey, I'm Gabe. I play with Platinum Attack, and it's good to be here with you all. There's a lot of the guitarists out here, and you'll see the different styles and the way they play. Often, a lot of them use like scales and stuff like that, or everyone has their own style and stuff like that. What I often do is I try to, because I've been playing kind of on my own, as opposed to two guitars where you would have one doing mainly the rhythm and the other one more the lead. I try to do, since I'm only a one guitar band, try to do a little bit of both. I'll try to concentrate on mainly getting the rhythm across with a little quick little, like a little riff here, or what you would say a chordal riff or something like that, where you're, or like a quick something that you would implement in it. Also, a style that I like to do is kind of like a real melodic sound, but then distorting it so it comes across a little heavier. Like, for example, I would do something like this is undistorted. And then that's undistorted. And then I'll do it again, like distort. I'll do the same thing, but with a distortion, which will give you a melodic sound, but with kind of a heavier feeling.
Then you need to get your rhythm guitar player. He should learn how to do, like, say, chugging and stuff, and he needs to learn how to do it right. And he needs to not just, want to look good. Of course, I said that before. Okay, now once you get that going, you got to be tasteful with your lead. Your lead player, he can't be leading the whole time you're singing. There's a cry of revolution. It's not going to be good, okay? His lead needs to come in when it's going to be effective. To set us free, revolution for eternity's revolution for Jesus, for love. Wow! And then he needs to come in with that lead, and he needs to get it from on high and do it right. If you play lead too much, you're going to drive it into the ground. It's not going to be cool. So do lead effectively. But then if you have a lead solo that's going to last a long time, let it go. If the spirit hits, on the other hand, if the spirit hits, do it. Do what you have to do. Let it go as long as you need to, and trust that your band's going to back you up.
Also for practice, like there's a lot of scales and different things you can do. I mean, there's a lot of also other guys doing, that'll show you different things. They'll probably be, better and stuff like that. But one thing I like to do is, experimentation a lot. Like when I try to practice, I don't even necessarily do scales so often. I'll just take a certain thing that I like and, and just keep playing it and trying new things. Like, first of all, like I'm playing right now, I dropped my top string to D, which is something often a lot of guitar players will do now. So you'll have kind of a real warm, rich sound. And then after that, I use also, if you'll notice, a lot of palm muting, which I think someone else covered, which is just basically silencing your guitar. So it gives it a more like a build-up sound. It sounds almost like you're coming up to something. And then anyway, like I'll try fooling around with different things. And so that's like kind of like an Eastern feel I'll put to something, and I'll just try jamming it out, going from like a low portion to a high portion, like doing the same thing, but in a higher portion. For example, like that. And then yeah, there's a lot of also tricks you can try doing, which I'll often do. Like often guitar playing can sometimes, you know, every guitar player has his own style, but it's all often like little tricks you'll try doing. Like say if you're in D, you can do a lot of different things. Like especially if you're a single guitar player. If you're tuned already to D, then most of things along this line will be D oriented. So like say you can do like a and the same goes for one string down, which is the A string, this A string. Again, if you're tuned to E, you can do the same thing on the top, and D again down here. Or if you're tuned to D, you can do D again. Like say if you're a single guitar player and you want to put a little riff in your song, you have your rhythm, right? And you don't want to cut out too soon so it sounds like only the drums and the bass are going, which will, you know, give you very little rhythm. So you'll try to do like your enough so that it still sounds like there's another guitar going. And here's a trick like you'll often do. Like I'll start off with, first you'll do a little rhythm, and then you'll go into a little something and then come back to the rhythm. See, that way when you do the riff, you can strum the top strings, because this is already D oriented, and then this gives you the little riff, and that way it sounds as if there's almost two guitars playing, one doing the high little, instead of just having one guitar doing only this. It sounds almost like as if you had two. Another thing I'll try to do often is, well, like one very helpful thing if you're just starting out, or if you're just learning, is trying new things and like trying new chords. Like often, like when you first start playing guitar, you'll learn your basic chords like D, A, and so on and so forth. What I'll often try to do is come up with new ways of doing those same chords, of, you know, different varieties, different ways. They probably all have been either, you know, found out before and they have names, but often I won't even know the names. I'll just, you know, come up with them because I like the way they sound. So I'll play on the guitar like a chord like this. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but I like the sound of it, so I'll try it. And since it's a D note, it's based in a D. This is the G note, so it's a G bass. I know it's based in G and D. And then things like that, or where you'll just try, you know, all sorts of weird little chords, like gives you a different sound for each one. Like a regular D will just sound very basic. And this is also a D note, so is this, but they all sound different because they're based in different things. So experimentation and trying new ways to do chords or new, different things always is a help, and always will, and it makes it fun to play because you won't just hear the same old thing. And a lot of, I guess, young players now are doing more of a heavier style, and so I personally like that style. So this is, it's in that same style. I drop D the guitar, number one. I palm mute a lot, so it gives it, you'll see a building effect, and then once I'm ready, I'll change the tone and kind of kick in. So that gives you a real driving sound, and then it opens up to being, to kick into the rest of the song.
Okay, now here's something that bands really, especially new bands, have a problem with this. You're the guitar player, okay? You need to listen to the band, not your guitar. You need to play your guitar and think, how is this sounding in conjunction with the band? Is this too loud for the band? Am I drowning anything out? Am I not loud enough? Don't listen to your guitar. Listen to, this also comes in handy when you're mixing in a studio. Listen to your guitar, and is that too loud? Am I drowning everybody out? The lead player, he can't just rip off this lead and expect nobody else to be heard. That's pretty rude, to leave everybody else behind in the dust and blare over them. You need to have people who don't turn themselves up, and then the next guy turns his guitar up because he can't hear himself loud enough, and then the bass guy, he's going to crank his up because he can't hear himself loud enough. And then the drummer, they're all loud, so the drummer's going to start wailing away. No, you can't do that. You gotta listen to the band, not yourself. You gotta listen to the band as a whole, as a body, not how you sound on the guitar.
Hi everybody, my name is Mike Fisher. I love you all a lot, and I'm here, I guess, to talk to you a little bit about rhythm electric guitar and how important it is in a band, and if that's what the Lord's called you to do and the direction that you're being led in to play. Maybe a couple tips and pointers that might help. For starters, just because you know how to play a acoustic guitar, maybe you go out or you've started, or you're in a, you go and you sing and you witness and stuff like that with an acoustic guitar. Playing an electric is a little different. A lot of people, I think, feel that that they can just pick up an electric and start playing it the same way, and in a lot of ways it's really different. You don't have an open strum necessarily, unless you want it for an effect. A lot of people get that mistake and they start jamming away on their electric, and it has a really grungy kind of rough sound to it. So a lot of times a really important thing that you might want to learn is about how to mute stuff, so that when you're playing, and the way that's accomplished is that the back of my hand right here is actually riding on this bar right here. So that when I'm picking a note, it's actually, I'm stopping the sound, so it's muted, which really gives it a really cool, full sound, but it's not ringing like that, which is really overbearing, and it doesn't really sound good. If you play right, you can be the backbone of the whole sound of the music, and it really enhances stuff. Also, it's really important to get your practice down at home. I guess Another thing to learn too. I'm not really a fancy guitarist. I don't do a lot of leads or anything like that, but I try to fill everything out with a real clean sounding distortion. That and I use a lot of power chords. Which really helps to, they're very easy to learn. And if you get your patterns down and you know where your chords are, it's real easy to just stick with the power chords, and they really help keep things sounding strong and cool. A power chord is that right there. Instead of playing an A here, I'm playing it there. Or instead of playing a G here, I'm playing it there. Or instead of playing an E, I'm playing it here. Which has a much brighter, fuller, cool sound the guitar brings out by using power chords. Another issue that I think is important is that you really do your practicing at home, like Dad says, so that when you get out there you can really shine. That's what I try to do. And there's a lot of little tips that you can learn about stage presence. Often, if you're on the guitar, you're also going to be the one that's singing a lot. And because this type of playing is quite easy, or it can be over time after you practice and you get it down, you can also be singing, and that's what I really enjoy doing more even than playing, is just really singing and connecting with the audience. And I've been singing and performing since I was a little kid with other bands, and I've seen different styles and ways. But the really successful bands are the people that connect with the audience and they get a connection going. Even if you just pull out one person that's watching you and you make that connection and you just play to them, and they're into it and you're into it, you find that person that's really jiving with you, and you get a good feel. And you're not. And by that point, you try to disconnect yourself from the guitar. Sure, you're thinking about it, but at the same time, you're thinking about the words that you're singing, and you're really emoting emotion when you perform. And I think that's very important, so that you don't get too overly into your guitar, but you're really drawing the audience. And also a factor too is that when you start getting those chords down, you'll be able to, like, it's difficult to dance often. I'm really an active kind of person when I'm on stage, and I like to bounce around and jump around, and I get my jumps in time with my playing. And also that all comes with practice and just doing it as well, which is exciting. And the more you're into that, I mean, it kind of might come off corny at first for you, or you think it is, oh, I'm just being, but people see that and they know that you're into it and that you're enjoying the music, and they're going to all get into it, and it's kind of has a ripple effect, and it's exciting. Also, I guess I could touch a little bit on, I use a wah pedal, which really also enhances the sound a lot. This one's very nice because it also has its own distortion built into it. I'm not trying to promote Voss either, just like Voss. If you're going to be using a wah, you usually fade into the last note. So you'll push forward on the last note and you'll pull back afterwards. Here's an example of it. Anyway, it's exciting, and I hope you all enjoy yourself. Also, I guess another point I could bring out too is that if you've just got an acoustic guitar, it's the same thing. You know, if you practice and you're good enough, and you want to get to the point where you could just be playing away and you're just singing and looking at the person, making that connection, which is also really important for witnessing. You don't want to be all tuned into what you're doing with your guitar. You want to be tuned into the person. I guess another thing too is that if you aren't comfortable with power chords but you're just starting out, really do, like, say you're gonna sing a song like Climb That Mountain, for example. I would highly suggest that you mute the guitar like I've been doing, and then only play the strings that you're actually playing. So like if I'm playing a D, the strings that I'm touching are the bottom strings. because when you play a D, it's all on the bottom three, the bottom three strings. Does that make sense? All right. So I love you guys. God bless you. It's a revolution for Jesus.
Okay, my name is Chris Guitar. I'm from Rebellion of David. So I guess I'm just gonna show you a little pointers on what I use for lead. I'm not a screaming lead player, but I like to show you my techniques. I use 2 scales. I use a minor scale. Like here's an A. Here's an A minor scale. Probably know that. Then you got, it's almost the same thing, you just a lot less notes. That's the like, blues rock scale, I guess. And then you can fill that in with those little half things, like a. You can use that for blues, like. Also for rock, I use that. Like you got a rock song going. You know, like a. Oh, yeah, hang on here. So, like on a minor song, you're playing like a song like Cry of Commitment. Cry of Revolution. There's a cry of revolution. Use a minor scale in my country. You know, simple. On a song like that, you could, like it's a blues rock song, keep it simple and use those minor scales. You're like a, you know what I'm saying? Simple yet effective. Don't try to go fast. Don't try to force it. That's something I'd like to drill. Is don't try to force it if it's a slow song and if it calls for something that's going to reach out and grab somebody's heart, something that's heartfelt. Do that, and don't do that on the rock, you know. Do that on the rock songs where it's like a da 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 ba da ba, and then even then you could do some wow wow, you know. I don't know if you use your wah pedals or whatever. I don't use wah pedals. I just keep it simple. But simplicity is the way to go. You know, learn your simple scales, get them down, drill it into your head. Do that several hundred times in a day if you have to, but get it down and then keep it simple. And once you get on the stage, or if you're performing, whatever you're doing, it'll come to you and the Spirit will hit you and you'll be able to do it. Okay, so for rhythm, I just want to show you something that has to do with, it's called chugging, something that's very effective in rock music. You want to take, I don't know if you can get a shot of my hand here. You want to take your hand towards here's the strings, towards the bridge. You need to put this part of your hand right here on the strings very closely to here, and then strum it hard, but mute, you know, put your hand that way to mute it more, that way to let it a little more loose. Get a good, like, what I'm doing right now is once you get the muting down, once you can do that, then learn how to open and close it. Learn how to open and close it, it'll sound really tight, like. See, I'm open, closed, open, closed, open, closed. So once you get that down, then I'd like to show you something called drop tuning, drop D. What I did just now is I took the top string, I tuned it to D, this string right here. So these are both the same. Now, you're gonna have a 5th chord wherever you put your finger, flat on the fret, wherever you put your finger, you're gonna have a 5th chord, which you can use for minor or major. Watch this. Sorry, I'm a little out of tune here. Godfrey's new songs, I don't know if he wants me to give this away, but like all of his new songs, they're all played in drop D. Like my band, when we just played here, Rebellion of David, my guitar was drop D the entire time. It's very crunchy and hard sounding, and it's so simple to play, which is a great thing, you know. So once you get that down, then you just need to work on it, and of course not overdo it. Like say you're playing on the verses, you go in say it's a song. You need to open it and close it at the right times to make it more effective. Say, it's that song. You know that song, well, look at the way they raised us. How's it go? Look at the way they raised us. How's the first words go? Round America she spins round. She shall be brought to her knees. See, I'm like, open, close, open. Look at the way they raised us. Open. Look at close. So get a little something choppy in it. And then go back to your chugging. And once you get that down, you could even take it a step further. Go double time with your finger this way. You know, once you get into like really heavy, you know, that takes a lot of work. But anyway, so that's all I have to say about rhythm. When I first started playing, I practiced, well, you know, everybody goes through phases. It's good to practice regularly, to not skip a day. I'd recommend not skipping a day, because if you do, you'll notice it, and then everyone else will notice it a few days later. I went through my phases where I just didn't play, you know, went through my trips and got into growing gardens and stuff. But then, you know, I'd say to be a very good guitar player and fluent and smooth, I'd recommend at least an hour of steady practice a day. I mean, a lot of people with their ministries and stuff, it's hard to get away, but if music is your ministry, if it's what the Lord has called you to do and it's your main method of witness, I would definitely put the time into it and practice, an hour a day at least. For practice, it depends on what you're playing. If you're, like most people, like to play both lead and rhythm, so I'd practice both. Rhythm doesn't take quite, you know, rhythm, you need to basically keep this arm, the muscles in this arm need to stay strong, and the way you do that is just by chugging. Chug fast, 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 just work it, you know. Don't jam with anybody, just work it real hard and keep those muscles in shape. Then for lead, go like this. Just as fast as you can. Go. Do that as fast and as long as you can until your arm just can't take it anymore, and then wait 10 minutes and go back and you'll fly. Trust me. Go like this. Can you get a shot of my hand here? Go like this. Go like this. With those two fingers right there. That's not easy to do, believe it or not. Then go like this with these two. This is an exercise. Use all the combinations of the fingers and then do them all. Now, I personally don't use a pick. I'm gonna learn how to use a pick. I hammer and pull. I forget what it's called. But if you can use a pick, you can do a lot more stuff. If you learn the up and down thing, I don't know how to do that. I just like go. There's only so much you can do with that. You can go fast like the lightning on the way down, but on the way back up, you can't really do all that much. If I knew how to do the pick, I'd be like, like all that stuff, you know. So learn how to use a pick. don't do the mistake I did. And don't skip a day. Keep these fingers moving, and don't crack your knuckles. Don't crack your knuckles. It's not a good habit.
Well, the first electric guitar I got was from the secretary in a dentist office when I went to get my tooth pulled, and I was sharing with her, witnessing to her. And she said, "Oh, you play guitar?" So the next time on the follow-up appointment, I brought my guitar, And I sang her a couple songs and kept, witnessing to her. And she said, "Guess what I have for you?" She pulled out an amp and electric guitar and gave it to me. It's a very junky electric guitar. It was about 50 years old. It barely worked. But I took that red piece of junk and that tiny little, it was actually a Fender Bandmaster. And that's actually a good amp. But this particular Bandmaster was quite used and very, almost about to die. But we took it to some prisons and we sang to the prisoners there with that, and that's what I used. So I think the Lord saw that I was using what he gave me to help others and witness to others, and he, little by little, blessed me with the instruments that I feel comfortable with using. And I do like instruments that are reliable and that are a pleasure to play and that sound good. So thank the Lord, he has blessed me with those instruments. My name is Voss, and I've been playing with the Creature Band here at Wordstock. And I'm going to show you a little bit about bass, what I know. It's not that much, but it's enough to get around a bit. To me, a tuner pedal is almost just as important as your instrument, because this one I like. I don't want to advertise for Boss, but you can you click it. When you click it on, it cuts off the signal going out to the amp, so you can be tuning on stage while you're talking right away and always have it in tune. And you just set this. It has the option to set it to either flat or double flat, or for bass or for guitar. This works for everything. So I just have it set on flat when I'm playing with Creature, and then if I play with another band, I just put it on normal and I just tune up really quick. It really makes it easy to tune. We tune lower in the Creature Band. You can tune whatever you want. E440 is the classic tuning. Everybody normally tunes with that. It has your most classic sound, but in the Creature Band we like to have a little bit of a deeper sound, and we get that by tuning our strings a half a step lower. You can even tune a whole step lower if your guitar or bass can handle it. We tune a half a step lower. The basic scales, there's two scales that I've learned. The first scale I learned it on electric guitar, and it was just your do, re, mi, fa, so scale. Just that. That's actually the end of it. But because there's one more string, I go ahead and start it again part of the way. Like, what's a song? Well, for example, More Like Jesus, if you're playing it in G, it would go. That's all in the scale. In that particular song, you're skipping the second note. Instead of going, you're going. That's all part of that scale. You're using all those notes. Another scale is a blues scale, and I use that a lot. Those two scales, to me, you can go very far and wide with those. And those are the two most common ones. And it's the pentatonic scale. You can add some thing with the pentatonic scale. If you once you get familiar with it, you know where to add half steps in too. Like instead of the pentatonic is 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the whole scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now those are notes that are found in the major scale. Not in the major scale. Those are notes that are also found in the minor scale, but they skip some notes to make it just the 5 basic blues notes. But then you can add in half steps too, like. Or you can even add a little minor-ishness to it sometimes by adding the major scale and the minor scale together. You can do it with your fingers too. But it has a different feel and a different sound. If you want it more mellow and subdued, you'd use your fingers. I like the fingers a lot, actually. It has more, to me, it has more tone, but some more aggressive songs you want. Whatever sound you want. But you can do that same thing with this. Now, you may notice that I have a 5-string bass here. The 4 bottom strings are like a normal bass, so I've just been sticking with those. But in the Creature Band, I use the 5-string bass because a lot of the sound of the music is very deep. So I need the low string, which is a low B. So instead of having to play a D down here, I have the option of playing a D up here to make it more deep. And that helps to get a little more gutsy sound when you need it. Who Said They're Dead, for example, is a song we play with the Creature Band, and, you know. Who said that? Who said that? My voice is horrid. One thing I'd like to say is that studio work is okay, but there's nothing like playing live in a band. It really is great, number one, for your inspiration. But if you want to become a better musician, playing live in a band will hone that ability faster than anything. And also, when you play live in a band in your garage, that's one thing. But playing live for an audience hones your ability even more because it allows you to learn to work under pressure and perform under pressure, which is a very important part of being a musician. It's not enough to just be able to jam on your own and do all this amazing stuff, but you have to be able to apply it to when you need it. And the only way to do that is to be practiced at playing live and playing live for an audience. Well, the idea to have a band came about because there was 4 musicians together that happened to play drums, bass, guitar. So when you have 4 of those people together, you feel like, well, let's do something with this. We have an opportunity here. Let's take advantage of it. So we started putting things together, and we ended up incorporating it into a show troupe type situation where there was dancers, and wasn't necessarily your coolest thing, but the Lord did use it. And we ended up playing a lot of songs that maybe we didn't necessarily like. Kind of like, it reminds me of when Grandpa's mom said, "Oh, sing for the nice old ladies." Sometimes he'd sing songs that she didn't really want him to sing. And I feel like that a lot. But there's other times when I know the Lord's leading me to sing a song that I don't necessarily like, but I know everybody else will like. You know, you go into an old folks home and you're singing to them, or in a hospital with sick people. Maybe you won't want to sing a soft song or a song that they will like. What you like is not that. But if you sing a song you want to sing, it won't go over so well. You have to be spirit-led. And I think the thing you have to give up is your own desire. If you're going to play in a band, you have to be willing to play what the Lord wants you to play for each situation. And then if you are willing to give up your own desires, the Lord always comes around and gives you what you want and lets you play what you want sometimes. But he'll always come back, even now. maybe at Woodstock I get to play more what I want to play, but every day, every week, I have to play things I don't want to play. And it's a constant thing. That's one obstacle that you have to cross. Another obstacle is your appearance. You need to be willing to dress in a tuxedo, dress in a corny flamenco outfit, and then you get to dress in whatever you want, dirty clothes, earrings, whatever. But you get to dress in what you want sometimes too, but it doesn't come without having to sing for the nice old ladies. There's different uses for bands. I think the first use that you can immediately use at any time is to glorify the Lord and to edify yourself and do something fun that's edifying to be able to do. Sing songs to the Lord, enjoy yourself. There's nothing wrong with enjoying yourself, and sometimes that's what the Lord wants us to do. It's not always is there an opportunity to sing with a band and reach others all the time. You can't be stuck in a box, but you'll probably start out just enjoying playing in a band and having fun. And then once you get more experienced, and the Lord will open doors, or the Lord may lead you to go out and find gigs and things to do and play for, to be able, maybe starting out with a meaningful meeting, playing a couple songs with the whole band for a meaningful meeting, or going down and setting up in some nightclub that has a lot of young people where the owners agree to let you play. You might even have to play for free, but make sure you win a lot of souls and put the Lord first in everything you do, and more things will open up, and you'll be inspired, and you'll win a lot of souls. If someone were to ask me, am I a bass player, electric guitar player, a drummer, what kind of musician I am, I would consider myself a wannabe of all of those. I don't really know how to play any of those very well. I can play them good enough to perform in a band, and I'm very dependent on the other musicians in the band to help me to sound good, because really what I play is simple, and it's just a matter of remembering what I'm supposed to do so that we're all doing it together and we're all making each other sound good. But I'm not the kind of person that can take electric guitar and by myself wow you or anything and play some ridiculously good lead break or something. I'm just not that way. I can get into the groove and feel it and do some stuff that feels good, but I really have no ability of being a show-off musician, even though sometimes I'm tempted to try. And when I do, I only embarrass myself thoroughly.
Now the kick drum and the bass need to be tight. I'm gonna use this as a bass. Say the bass is going. And the kick drum should be going bam, ba bam bam, bam bam, bam bam, bam bam bam. If you do that, that's a tight sound to begin with. People that are sloppy with the bass and kick, the audience is going to be like, well, that sounds a little sloppy. And of course, they're not musicians. They're not going to be able to point the finger and say, they're not together on the bass and kick. But they are going to realize that something's sloppy and it's just not going to sound tight.
Hey, my name is David, and I will tell you some tips about bass, and especially about slap. Some tips, easy tips that you can basically start learning. And basically, slap means that you need to actually slap the bass. But the way you slap the bass usually is you make your finger bounce. But at the same time, this is a good exercise you can learn about bass when you slap. You're slapping, but I'm just covering with my left hand. And this is a good exercise for you to start learning slapping. You can do even to all 4 strings. Right? So basically, that's the first step you need to do to slap, and you learn how to slap, is you practice like this. You can do it even with your only the first string, right? That's the first step. Second step to slap is you can practice the 4 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Just this, the first step. Second step, you go over to right? So, if you do this exercise, you pretty much gonna get it. Yeah, I suggest that you go step by step and do it like, I don't know, 1 week. Just if you're not familiar with it and you start getting bass, 1 week just. And it's also important if you can count in 4. And you 4 times. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. That's the first step. Then we go for the second step, which is 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I go slower in this. 3, 4. This is just a good tip. Also, you go for the third step, which is you go for the second string, and then you're gonna do I don't know exactly what it's called, but you just pull the string from the bottom. So it's that's another exercise that you can do. Or you go for the top string also, and you go for the third string. So that's another exercise, so you can start learning how to pull the string. It's important that when you pull the string, you do the kind of like stopping the noise. So this is basically a basic exercise that you can do and practice it week over week. So in that way you can learn a little bit about slapping bass. I would like to emphasize here that when you play bass, it's not the same as playing guitar, you know. Like somebody was asking me about scales for bass, you know. There's certain scales you can probably put on bass, but bass is what is called bass. So bass is to like a song, you know, tune, 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 tune. That's bass. You're bringing body to the song. You're bringing the whole sound of the song. If you want to do some arrangements on the bass, sometimes you can add a little, if you want to call a scale or a part of a scale. Like for example, something like that, or you see, it's something simple that you need to put on bass, but you need to look for the right place. Don't worry about doing so much. Or, well, anyways, the most important thing is that you fill up the tone. If you're in C, if you're in D, or if it's for rock, it's or basically, I will suggest that you will go straight for how the song goes, and if you get a time to put a little scale, you do it. Everything takes time. If you want to learn something, don't be discouraged, but take your time. You are gonna start doing it. If you start like in a week, you're not gonna see any progress the first days. If you get tired of doing it, rest it, like do it for one day, another day, maybe the other day, the third day, and if you don't see any progress, don't get discouraged. Rest it for another 3 days, and then come back. And then start doing it one day, another day, and then rest it. And you'll see the progress. For me, it took some time. I'm still learning. Like I was talking to somebody, I'm still learning. This is still new for me. But don't be discouraged. But one thing I would like to tell you is that keep it up. Don't be discouraged. You can get it. Just do the exercises and keep on doing it. 1, 2, 3.
Hi everybody, my name is Andrew, and I want to talk about the keyboard and how you can use it in a band. Now, first of all, we all know that electric guitar, bass, and drums are your essentials for especially rock bands. You have to have those, and with those, you can have a terrific sounding band. Now, if you have a keyboardist or a pianist, you can add that instrument to your music, and it will make the music a lot fuller. You can do a lot more. Like, for instance, I'll give you a few examples. Maybe if you want to try using pads or synth sounds. Let's try one here. Something like this. Things like that. Or you can start off songs with a nice synth sound, or if there's like a bridge of a song, a lot of times you'll use either some strings to really build it up, or you can go to percolating sounds, something like a harpsichord or a muted guitar. For example, something like this. Now, let's give another example. How about something like this? Something like that. And that can add a lot of movement, a lot of rhythm to the songs. And of course, where a keyboard really shines is when you're doing slower songs, and let's say you do Love and Jesus songs. Then, of course, the piano sounds are quite nice. Let me live just one more day in service unto the King. A pride I lay before His feet, a broken heart I bring. Anyways, a lot of people enjoy the piano sound, so if you play piano, then it's a very nice instrument to play for the slower songs, the Love and Jesus songs, and also a lot of folk songs, which a lot of families, older family songs are. Piano is a great instrument to play. Now, if you don't have a band and you want to make music, then the keyboard is the instrument to have, because you can play drums, bass, guitar, piano. You can have all the instruments all in this one instrument right here, the keyboard. You hook it up to a computer and use a program like Sonar, and you can make whole tracks for music, for songs and for shows, whatever you want to do with it. Now, most of the family musicians nowadays in the studios use the computer with a keyboard and all its sounds, and then they also add electric guitar to it and different instruments. But even those like Godfrey, who does a lot of rock songs, he will use the keyboard drums instead of live drums, just because it's a lot easier to record with, and you can actually change the notes just by increments and make it all sound just right. Now, most professional keyboards have MIDI in and out, and what that is that means you can control it with a sequencer, and in this case I'm using a computer. You can have up to 16 channels, which means you can have 16 different instruments going at the same time, which is very, very useful, especially if you're just one person recording a whole song. As you can see here, I'll give you a little example. You hear the drums and the bass, and I have it on all different tracks. This is the tuba, and anyways, the snares, I have all the drums separated also. Okay, and on the keyboard, of course, I have it all divided up in 16 different instruments. Now you can actually have more than that. You can, during the song, you can send a signal to one of the channels to change an instrument to a different instrument, and it can play that one too. So the variety you can have is incredible. You can have hundreds of instruments, and it's very useful nowadays for our family studios. Usually the studios are small, and you don't have all the different musicians like a drummer and a bass guitarist and all that available to record songs. So that's a good advantage of having a keyboard. Well, if you would like to learn the keyboard or the piano and you haven't yet, or you're just starting to, don't give up. It's a great instrument to learn. I started when I was 16 years old at the HCS, and I didn't have anybody I didn't have like classes where I learned from either books or a teacher. What I did was about 5 or 10 minutes after every dinner, every night, I would go practice on the piano that was in the hallway. And then every time I would see somebody walk by that knew how to play piano, of course someone like John Lisson or Jerry Palladino or Michael Fogarty, I would ask them, could you just show me just something really quick, a little this or that, and they'd show me a little thing, you know. And that's how I learned. Okay, now let's go over some of the keyboard basics. If you're just learning how to play the piano or the keyboard, I'll help you out with a few basics. First of all, the way I learned was I learned chords. Just like a guitar, you learn C, G, F. Well, that's how I learned how to play piano. First of all, C, G, F. They're almost the same. Actually, those are all the same. And then when you go to D, instead of this, the middle one goes up to D. Because if you kept it in the middle, it'd be a minor, D minor. If you go up, that's E minor. You go up in the middle one, that's called the E. F, G, A has the one that goes up in the middle also. And then B is the only chord that's a little different from this scale. It's like this with two black ones. Of course, then there's all the other ones like F sharp minor, C sharp minor, and there's a bunch of other variations like major sevenths that go like this. So once you learn all the basics, all the basic chords, then I would suggest that the next step would be to learn how to use your left hand with like a bass, something like this. Now remember, a C is like this, or this is another way of doing a C, okay? So I would do, once you learn how to do something like this with the bass, then you become comfortable with it, you can change chords to, let's say, an F. You go back to C, and G. Once you get that down, then go a step further and something like this. So we're adding a variation. We're going up to this instead of just doing this bass line. Once you have that down, and try the different chords. Let's try an A, G. Okay, then from there, go on to the next step. And don't worry about it if you don't get it. It takes a lot of practice at first. But once you have those basics down, then you keep adding little by little, and it helps. Let's try something different now. Now remember, this is a C chord, so a different way of doing a bass is just going along the same notes as a C chord like this. That's really simple. Then another step of that is going up to like that and back to the G chord. Two more. Then of course adding the chord on this right hand at the same time. Or something slower. Wait, let's see. Now that one's a little tricky on the right hand because you're doing a different rhythm. then you're just normal, dun, dun, dun. And that's where you basically have to experiment until you get the right feel. Because you can go, but that's not going to have the same feeling as. Then of course once you get something like that going, then you can experiment with moving this around a little bit like this. Like I'm going from a G to a C. Just by changing these two right here. I'm keeping the pinky the same place. Or some of the a little bit slower songs, you just keep the bass on one note or two notes. This is an octave, they're both C's. Another way of doing bass line is just hitting the same one. And once you have those basics down, then start to, you can also get into jazz, or usually use like a rock organ to do things like that's a scale. There's different types of scales. There's the jazz scale, the blues scale, and it goes on and on. There's tons of them. But if you don't have a book to follow that you can actually learn these scales, like I never had a book, that's why I'm limited. I wish I did. Then you just go by your ear, like what would sound good. Yeah, skip that one because that wouldn't go right. Then let's try an organ sound with that same thing. So since I know the scale, I know that these three go together, and these three go together. It's the same all the way down, the same keys. Then you start experimenting by adding another note. Like I'm hitting these at the same time instead of just going like this. So I'm hitting both these, watch. Then you experiment with different sounds like that. Okay, well those are some examples of something you can start with. And on some of the bands, like you use synths, those are pretty easy to do because you usually use chords or just parts of chords. Let's give an example here. Some blues. Or if you're doing strings, it's the same thing. You can use just different chords. Let's see, what else? Well, let me give you one more example of something you can learn. Let's see, here we go. Let's get a stereo piano. Now, one thing that really helped on slower songs that I learned is doing basically a chord all the way up the piano and down. Let's give an example. I'll do a C chord. Watch this. I'm doing C all the way up. Now you can do the same thing and you just don't hit the middle one, so that it doesn't sound so monotonous. So all together would sound like, and it's quite nice. Then you can add little things like adding this little middle note right there. If you notice, I'm repeating myself here. I'm hitting this one, then I'm using the left hand to hit the same one, or part of it. Then I'm going to this one, and I'm doing this again. If you do it all in time, it sounds very beautiful. Or little variations like this. Now that's very simple actually, because you're hitting the same chord all the way up, but it makes you sound like a really good piano player. It's just a little trick, you know. Okay, anyways, those are some tips. I hope that was useful, and we love you. Revolution.
Alright. Once you got those few things down, then you're going to need to get on your prayer bones and pray and say, Lord, we want to get this band and we want to use it for you. We want to win souls with this band, and we want to set the people in the family on fire. And you know, you need to have a reason to have a band to begin with. If you don't have a reason, don't watch this video. If you don't have a reason, you know, forget about it. So basically that's it. You need to know what you're doing it for, keep that in mind, and you know, try to stay tight, practice, and remember what this is for. This is not to have a rock band. This is for the Lord. This is for souls. This is for the kingdom of God. That's what music's for. If you got a band together, here's what you could use it for, to witness. To start off with, say you don't even have a band, you're just a musician. Just before you could even be in a band, you should be able to play a song one-on-one for somebody on the beach. You should be able to pick up your guitar, sing a song into their face, and say, here's what I'm saying to you. If you can't do that to begin with, maybe you should think about, you know, getting what it takes to do that before you start a band. Once you have the conviction that your message is true, and you have the boldness, and you can play and sing well together, and you have a stage presence and all that, then you get your band together. There's worlds of possibility you can do from there on. Once you have a good tight band, there's worlds of possibilities, and there's also worlds of possibilities for the devil to get in and say, hey man, you guys are good, check out this record label. Forget that. It's a waste of time. Don't let modeling agencies pick you up. Don't let record labels pick you up. It's just baloney. You could do gigs anywhere. You could get paid gigs. You could just do concerts live anywhere and attract a crowd, and then bam, do a heartfelt hour-and-a-half concert, and then you have family members out in the audience, you know, and that audience is in tears, and they're ready to listen to you, you know, and then you have family members out in the audience, and they're there to witness, and then, hey, we're with the band, and you know, we're here to tell you, you know, what you heard them singing about is the truth. It's the end time, and you know. So you gotta also have not just a band, but you should also be able to witness, do your stuff, then walk off the stage and say, you know, what I was singing about was true. You know, here's what's happening. It's the end of the world. Take Jesus right now. You know, that's what it's all about. That's supposed to be the end result, not to get up and play and walk away. That's the end result. To play, reach into their heart, grip it, yank it out, and send them mad, sad, or glad, and then either say it in the mic or get off the stage and talk to them one-on-one, spread out after your concert. Once you've moved them emotionally, you're good to go from there. They'll listen to you. That's what music is for. It's a language that everyone's going to understand. It's a language that speaks to everybody.
Well, that brings us to the end of this series on how to put a band together. Thanks for joining us, and if you ever get a chance to film your own band, please send it to us, and we'll include it in one of the upcoming Revoactive shows. God bless you all, and keep playing that revolutionary, groovy music for Jesus.
Hey, put a shirt on!